I think a lot of people have big dreams. A lot of people have a calling, and maybe many callings in their life. To listen to that calling, to follow that calling, is, I believe, the most courageous thing we can all do. The willingness to leave behind whatever it is that we will possibly lose or risk losing to follow our hearts is the most courageous thing we can do. Basically, I could say I feel at home in my tent now. I feel at home walking down the road. I feel at home in nature. I feel at home when I walk into a new village, a new town, a new continent. And that's probably just because I'm becoming more in touch with and comfortable in my heart with feeling good everywhere, yet still feeling like I don't belong. I didn't expect art to play such an important role in this, because if I trace back the very seed of when this idea of walking around the world was planted, was in a watercolor class, and I overheard two women talking about a man walking around the world. At least that's what I thought. So when I inquired to them who they were talking about, they actually told me they were talking about one of Hitler's generals. After he had been in prison when the war was over, he would walk in the courtyard, walking in circles, counting his footsteps, as if he was walking around the world, and he knew exactly what country he was in as he walked in the courtyard. It just fascinated me. What a brilliant way to see the world. Why not walk in it and through it? So I just became obsessed. I became obsessed with finding out who's done it, what men have done it, what women have done it, how did they do it, what did they carry, what route did they go. So I was ordering every book I possibly could on women who have gone to the Arctic Circle and how they survived or how they died. I remember leaving the watercolor class and walking as if that was me. What would it feel like when I walked from the class home, which was just a few miles? I walked through Belgium, through Romania, through Africa, through Australia, and by the time I got home, when I feel like I just walked around the world, this is a new idea. This is something in motion. And that idea of a calling is when it becomes the most interesting and compelling thing over anything else. So an obsession around the ability to walk around the world, that's when it began.
Wow.
So I decided the best way I could prepare was to actually go walking with someone who's done this,
Mm-hmm.
who's walked through countries. And so it just so happened that Carl Bushby was walking across the United States. And so I went to meet him, and it happened to be at a time that the United States was going through like a polar vortex, which it pulls all this extremely cold air down into the southern regions that normally don't get that height of cold. So just basically saying it was freezing, and we were camping. It was my first time camping on the side of a road, and we set up our tents, and he was showing me how to use my little stove, which I had never used before. I bought it because he advised it. He was showing me how to do it. We had this nice little warm meal. He goes into his tent. This is where I have the reality check. This is where, on the side of the road, bundled in a big down jacket and a thick Arctic sleeping bag, I have my meltdown, thinking, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm bawling, I'm crying, I'm thinking, I can't do this. I'm having a complete emotional, cathartic moment through the entire night. I didn't sleep well, and I think it was important to just experience having that emotional meltdown of all that I'm going to have to leave behind. So I cried basically my way through the night. I cried myself, to sleep a few times. Woke up with 6 blisters on my toes. I couldn't put my feet in my shoes. I crawl out of my tent, and Carl Bushby comes out, stretches like it's a nice summer day. Asks me how I slept. I tell him, wow, that was the hardest thing I've ever experienced.
Okay.
And then he goes, no, I slept great, and I watched 2 movies. I said, you what?
No.
Is that how you do this? That's how you survive? You watched 2 movies? Sure enough, he did. He watched 2 movies and tucked away in his tent, and there I was next to him, and crying my eyes out, and of course being quiet because I didn't want him to know that here I was having self-doubt. So after walking with Carl Bushby, although that night in my tent I felt like it broke me, I actually walked away from 2 days walking with him knowing I was ready to do this.
I really think you're brave. That's
Don't look at
silly.
me.
Okay, again. No, I said that's silly. I have to do it again because I really think you're brave.
Well, I've hiked over the Alps, I broke my leg, and I crawled my way out. It's a survival.
No, but I'm not kidding. I really think you're really brave.
I actually have quite a few women tell me they think I'm so brave, and I know that it's coming from a place that they think it's courageous to sleep on the side of the road, or to be walking through places that have, you know, snakes and venomous spiders, and you know, to just be walking as a woman alone in the world. But to me, the courage was really to even just start. There is a saying that courage is in the trying, just to attempt it. So there has to be a willingness to fail. When I think about being able to be more brave, to me, it's being able to love in the face of fear. Being able to follow your heart when you know it could be life and death. To follow your dreams, no matter what excuses you can come up with.
It's true.